digress. Here we are. I don't know if you know this man, but if you're from the city of Toronto, I would consider him a legend, a legendary DJ. You could catch him every day on the move, 2 to 7. Well, what station? 93.5?
93.5, yeah.
Yeah, 93.5. Formerly known as Flow.
Right.
You already know there's controversy with that name, but we're not going to touch it too tough. But Mr. Mastermind, DJ Mastermind, I grew up listening to your music. Mixtapes were relevant at that time for you young folks out there.
Right.
DJs were breaking artists back then. You know what I mean? Like, if you're an artist, you went to a DJ, not what it is now, where you could just upload, do things at your home, like we're doing right now, and just upload it. You know. And
well, times were different too. I mean, artists didn't have the same tools that they have at their fingertips in today, day and age. So, I mean, there were DJs that weren't breaking records, and there was DJs that were breaking records. But again, artists today have, they're way more fortunate and well off in terms of how they can expose themselves and their art and their, whatever they're trying to expose to as many people as possible.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Did you born here? Did you?
Yeah. In Canada?
Yeah.
I was born in Toronto.
Okay.
Mount Sinai.
Alright. East End, West End? Did you go East End or West End?
So, after I was born, I think we lived around CNE, somewhere on Strawn or something like that, to a very young age. And then we moved to Scarborough, Eglinton, and Midland.
Okay.
And I lived there till I was about 8, and then moved to North York in the Finch, Leslie area.
Okay.
And that's where I grew up.
Okay. All right, cool. High school?
In the Finch, Leslie area.
Okay. Did you play sports?
Not really, because I got into music at a very young age. And so, I mean,
that consumed your world.
When you talking about high school sports?
Yeah.
Or just sports in general?
Yeah, I played
sports
in general. Yeah.
I mean, we played soccer, like, league soccer, and played road hockey and stuff like that. But no, by the time I got to be 14, I was already on my way to getting on the radio, and I got my show when I was 15. So, I got some of my best friends who would always make fun of me because after school, when they would be heading to the field to do football practice, I'd be walking, the bell had already rung, and I'd be halfway home, and they'd see me with my backpack, and they'd be like, "Oh, Paul, he's going to the radio station, blah, blah, blah." And they knew,
So when you going to the radio station, back then, what were you doing?
So the station that I worked at was at York University.
Okay.
Right?
But before you got to York University,
yeah.
I remember I did a little research. And went on your Instagram and seen that you told the story. You guys need to check out his Instagram. When I say the man's legendary, the only person he hasn't met is who?
I would say only.
Well,
but out of the icons, yeah, I never met Pac.
Pac was the only one. The man met everybody. And it's not like he's going searching for them. It's just this is his life journey. Like the music took him that route,
Yeah.
And boom, I'm on your Instagram. I seen that story where you told him how the music got introduced to you in '82, hip hop in particular.
Oh yeah.
It
was breakdancing outside of So I was downtown for whatever reason. I was a young kid. '82, I was probably 12 or 13 or something like that. And you come outside and there's a group of kids breakdancing, and I saw it and I got mesmerized by it, and the rest is. At that point, that's when you start to go and source it.
It was
out
like a light. It was like a light. Like I needed to get close to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you find a radio show that plays it. You find record stores that sell it. You find other people that love it the same way you do, and you bond and you create friendships through the music. And I was telling somebody that some of my longest life friends. The friendship started because of hip hop. Like you would talk about, did you hear this song? And you don't even know this person, and that's how you guys relate. And then all of a sudden, that bond is built, and then it flourishes from there, right?
So what the man just described is an organic relationship. Nowadays, everybody just follows. It's all about following, and that's why I find even with the industry of just life in North America in general, everything is so like, there's no soul to the approach when we do things.
I think a lot of it is business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's calculated, but in
like we have young millionaires now.
No,
like,
but I'm saying, but like, okay, let's just use Drake for an example, right?
Perfect example.
So the people that he has around him in his inner circle, those relationships were all organic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when he met Oliver, when he met 40, when he met Boy Wonder, the dudes that he actually keeps real close to him, like Nico and all these guys. Those are like high school friends of his.
Yeah, and he don't know. He's a perfect example that he came up with. Like he really came up with those guys,
right?
You know
and he keeps those people close to him.
Mm.
Now, of course, him attaining the success that he has, other people are going to want to become in the circle, and that's where he keeps them at bay, or he has people in place to deal with that.
Yeah,
and then there's the business side. Yeah. But I think he keeps whoever his real friends are, like they know who they are,
but
they're kept close, and so on and so forth.
The music built a lot of the relationship you have right now, and which is great. I remember for me personally, like one of my oldest friends, Terrence, went to elementary school with him.
Shout out to Terrence.
Big up to you, Bishop Tutu. But he introduced me to hip hop by way of Special Ed, The Mission.
Okay.
I heard that it was over.
All right. Yeah.
I was like, cause I'm like, what?
You
You already know.
That's a great song. That's a great song.
Classic.
Yeah, it's a great song.
That's how I got introduced to it, and I was hooked. But yeah, I see. Did you travel a lot?
More so, well, I did travel. Like a lot of my travels at the beginning were just North America, right? It's only recently that
because I'm been talking about it. The ones Egypt and one.
Right. So that's been more recent, right? As my kids have gotten older, and me and the wife have been afforded a little bit of freedom because the kids could take care of themselves. It's allowed us to be able to go visit places that.
And they travel with you sometimes.
And sometimes they do. Right?
And I feel like that's important. My daughter's about to graduate high school in a year or two, and I made it clear to her, like, for me personally, I understand, because every day, one minute she wants to do makeup, the next minute singing. So I know, like, as a young person, you need to really take your time as far as what you want to do in life, because you really don't want to waste your time. Because there's a lot of people going back for second careers now. Yeah. So I actually implore her and encourage her to think about not going to college right away, but travel.
Wow. Listen, there's huge life experiences with that.
Travel,
right?
To me, traveling, the life experience you gain, and just you get to know yourself. I was talking to Jerry about that. When he went to Europe. Okay. And he's saying it forced him to come out of his shell. Oh wow. And it forced him to evolve.
You know, the interesting thing when you think about hip hop, it has afforded a lot of people the opportunity to travel. Now you think about artists who, they started in Brooklyn. That's all they knew. And then all of a sudden they become famous, and you go to Japan, you go to Europe, you go to Canada, you go to, all these different continents, you go to Africa, you go to all these different places, and it's because of the music. Mm-hmm. The music takes you there, and you get to experience these amazing places, and you get to see amazing people. And so for us, we had kids when we were young, and so we weren't able to travel outside of, tourist, you go to Jamaica or the West Indies or whatever. But, we never really got a chance to travel. But now with the kids being older, like I said, it's allowed us a little bit of freedom to, write down the bucket list places and say, we're going to go visit these.
I love it.
As much as we can. But the hip hop did take me a lot of places, though. Like,
oh, for sure.
When I was traveling as a DJ, I got to travel the entire country here in Canada. I went almost the entire U.S.
tour?
No, I'm retired as far as DJing is concerned.
When was your last show, or last time you did a show?
I DJed for a friend of mine, like a couple of Halloweens ago.
Like a basement jam?
It was like a small spot, yeah. But no, I haven't. I haven't really found the love of it anymore. Like I kind of fell out of it, and every now and then you can play a party and rock a crowd and stuff. But
you have the set up in the basement though.
No, not anymore. No,
collecting dust?
No, it's just not. It's not set up. That's all. Oh. But my kids my son's a producer, so he makes music. Okay, my daughter's thinking about DJing, so we're thinking, okay, we'll get a controller.
That would be cool.
So we're thinking about getting her a controller and letting her, experiment and have some fun. And girl DJs.
Did that make you smile? Honestly,
she's actually mad at me because it was interesting when my son was getting into producing about 6 or 7, actually longer than that, probably like for maybe about 10 years ago. He got into Fruity Loops and stuff, and she's 3 years younger than him, and she showed expressed an interest in wanting to do it, and I was like, yeah, just let him do this thing, and you go do whatever you do. And so I stifled her, right? Like I kind of stymied her. And so she holds that against me now because she says, she feels like had you let me back then, just flourish, I probably would be rocking right now. And I accept full responsibility for that.
And you know what? That reminds me of a story where a good friend of mine, when he was young, he was really good. He was pretty much gifted in playing piano.
Oh, okay.
Okay? But his dad did not look at playing piano for his son. He wanted him to play sports. So one day, he seen his son playing piano and was like, what do you think you are, Liberace? The man's so young, he didn't even know who Liberace was. Goes to his sister's like, who's Liberace? Told sister, so never touched the piano again.
Right. So that's stymied it, man.
Destroyed!
Yeah.
So please, parents, careful out there.
Yeah, I trust me, I did learn from that. I don't know why at the time I was like, nah. I had no idea, but that definitely was a life lesson.
You had your reason,
No, I don't think I had a reason. I just think it was like, listen, I'm just helping him right now. Let me deal with him. I don't have time to teach him and you and blah blah blah, which is such a stupid reason, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
She reminds me often.
Things happen when the time is right, and she's there now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to talk about the industry on the scene, especially Toronto.
Okay.
Do you think the industry has heard the best of Toronto? What Toronto has to offer?
It's hard to say. Toronto is on a wave right now that I've never seen personally. Again, being in this industry from pretty much the inception, it's like, I've seen the city go through phases where they didn't support their own talent and stuff.
This is true.
But now you have artists who have, very a little exposure outside of what their own. As I said, artists have a tremendous amount of tools at their fingertips to help them expose themselves. And so you have these artists that are getting no video play, no art radio play, no love, and they're selling out places like the Phoenix on the strength of just their fan base, right? That never would have happened. Like, even if you think about Chaclair, at his peak, there's no way he would be selling out, giant venues in Toronto. He did tour. He toured a lot. And
opened for a lot of people too.
Oh, he did. He definitely opened for a lot of people. But he had his own tours, like cross-Canada tours. At least 4 or 5 times he's gone across the country. But not to the degree. Like, I have never witnessed people who, if you went to Eaton Center and asked 100 people, do you know who this artist is? And, the likeliness of everybody knowing is small. Yet, they sell out venues. And it's like, it brings a sense of pride to me because it just shows that finally the city is starting to embrace itself, right?
The reason why he says it brings a self of pride is because early on, the sound coming out of Toronto, and I'll admit it, was not up to par. I mean, we had our own type of sound, but it was not mainstream up to par. Am I lying? Like,
it depends. But see, here's the thing: we've always had 1 or 2 artists that were able to rise above and get some notoriety. But the problem was it was always one at a time. It wasn't like you had a multitude of artists who were all making great music in their own areas of town or whatever, had their own fan bases, and were doing their own thing. Now, with the advent of, obviously, technology and the talent levels have come up, and the same, like, if you look at a movie like The Carter Effect, where people never really felt like they could get into the NBA until Vince landed here, and really took the Raptors to the next level, and it made kids in Toronto feel like, yo.
I think Vince just had a part to play in that. Sorry to cut you off, but it's just the Raptors having a basketball team in Toronto made the difference.
It did, but even if you looked at, the up until Vince got here, Raptors were cool, but they were still not. You had the Grizzlies on the West Coast. It wasn't like it was popping.
Yeah.
Vince put on a Raptors jersey. He had the greatest slam dunk, victory in almost the history, you could argue, of the dunk contest. And he was a Raptor. And so kids saw that, and it motivated them. So 5 or 10 years from now, there'll be this movie called The Drake Effect, where it's going to show that Drake did what he did, and he made kids believe that the dream was attainable. And it clearly was, right? So Drake did it. The Weeknd did it. Tory Lanez is doing it. Belly's doing it. There's tons of artists from this city that are doing it, and those are just the ones that people know about. There's so, like when we did.
This is what I'm saying. So do you think that they've heard the best of what Toronto have to offer?
I don't know.
I personally don't think so, because I know some of the underground artists out there.
Well, that's great then.
Like,
if we have arguably one of the biggest artists on the planet, if not the biggest artist on the planet from our city, and there's still a next man who's going to eventually become better than him, then I'm all for that.
The support is not there. Like I saw when I was incarcerated, this was going on with ATL when they blew up. This it seemed like everybody supported each other.
But that's the infrastructure. That's the infrastructure. But that's the infrastructure. You got to remember, ATL had the luxury. I'm going to call it the luxury of American labels knowing the value of black music and signing these artists, developing these artists, supporting these artists, and they had an infrastructure in the States from a black radio standpoint, from black video and black television standpoint. We don't have that. We have one station in the entire country that plays black music, right? We have no TV that is dedicated to black culture or black music.
Black, quote unquote. Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think the term urban is stupid. So I don't know what you want me to call it.
No, it is what it is.
Right?
Well, we know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about hip-hop and R&B.
Yeah.
You know, even reggae, arguably. So we have no infrastructure. And the record labels out here...
At this point, with the success you just mentioned about all these artists from Toronto...
You would think it would have happened. You would think the record labels would be lining up to sign these artists and only putting these artists out.
No, not even that. I'm talking about even the radio play.
Yeah,
as far
I
as,
know.
Like,
dude, you know...
I know you heard it. I know you hear it. There's an issue with underground artists like this.
Yeah, but see, you got to understand, underground... People don't have an idea how radio works. Underground is it's called underground for a reason, because it's not mainstream, and you can't play on a radio station that is there to make money because somebody owns it as a business.
Advertisers.
And if you don't have listeners, you can't get advertisers. And if you play records that only appeal to a very small demographic, you will not have listeners. So you have to play a mass appeal amount of records. You have to play those records often, so when people do tune in, they're hearing them. And so you can't just randomly play 1,000 different songs.
But can we have a show that's dedicated to that, though?
Dedicated to what?
To those artists.
I'm sure a radio station should have that.
Like the Move.
I'm not the boss.
I don't know, but I'm saying the Move, for example, hypothetically should have, I don't know.
Well, I can tell
10
you.
to 12.
I can tell
10
you.
to 12.
I can tell you right now.
And I'll tell you,
the Move did
numbers will be
something.
crazy.
The Move did something that has never been done by a radio station in the country, let alone in the city, and that was dedicating 18 hours to only playing artists from this city. We did that on March 6th with the Made in Toronto takeover. It was legendary. People talked about it. It was great. It made me feel amazing. The people who got a chance to have their songs exposed, even for once,
that was great.
But it's not like the ratings changed. It's not like all of a sudden
advertiser was knocking at your door. I understand.
Right.
I understand that.
So yeah,
but we just need 2 hours. That's all. Maybe 1 hour.
Nah, but it shouldn't be even just be 1 hour. It'll eventually get to that point. When? I don't know. But I think it'll happen.
I'm going to predict it. This is the day we're going to start it. When it happens, just remember, we started the movement here. Let's get the Move, no pun intended, to give us a 2-hour underground show.
Well, you know what? I don't even underground. I don't.
Okay, sorry.
What would title it? I would just say the artists that aren't ready for prime time, give them some exposure, right? And
we call it the spotlight or something.
Whatever.
Like that.
I'm telling you, it's not like
the numbers would be crazy.
I don't know.
No,
I don't know. I can't answer that. But what I do know is that the Made in Toronto takeover is not a one-time thing. Even if it ends up only being an annual thing and you do it every year on the same date, it's still something that a year from now there's going to be new artists coming up. The artists that were featured, they're still going to be perfecting their craft and hopefully getting better. And we'll do it again.
Some people think the hustle is hard.
The which? The hustle?
Yeah.
Okay.
You touched on it earlier. How did you make your moves early on? traveling because there was he had to go to events. Like, how can I be down to meet all these people that he took pictures with? And sometimes they came into town, and because he was a DJ, he got to take pictures. But a lot of the relationship was built because you went to.
Yeah, I have at the time I was really hungry. I have a strong work ethic. I want to win, and I set my sights on the things that I wanted to do, and. Whenever I found out there was a conference happening, I would go to New York all the time, visit record labels. It was my own pocket. I worked and I saved money, or I asked my parents, I don't know. And I eventually, would drive to New York, or I would drive to these places. I would go to these conferences and build my connections. And I remember, racking up phone bills on my dad. My dad cussing me out because the long distance bill was so high or whatever. And at the time, he probably didn't see the vision. He didn't see the long-term goal or whatever. But now when we look back at it, he's like, everything you did. Like, they used to hate that I would buy records. You're wasting your money on records,
Because they're thinking that money could be used for a book or whatever.
But at the end of the day, now as a grown-up, seeing that it actually became my career, I've been able to sustain a career out of it and, from take care of my life. They understand.
You made a living from it.
Yeah.
And even your children are into it now. Because of you.
Yeah.
That's I think that's gotta be the most beautiful thing. Is that you were in this world of hip hop, and then you had children, and now they're like following your footsteps pretty much. It's a beautiful thing.
No doubt.
I love it. Now we want to get into this segment called Agree to Disagree, and you know Cardi B, right?
Of course.
And my opinion is this. I think it's the norm now that you're going to find people like Cardi B who come out of nowhere and have stories. And I think character and story to tell. And it's going to be a norm now. Because, first of all, technology is there. Like you said, we don't have to go to the corporations. They come to us now.
Yeah, and they still exist, though.
Yeah, they're still there. The corporations are still there. I mean, Atlantic is the one that's pushing our album, right?
Yeah.
So, but she built herself up.
But what do you mean she has a story? Like, I'm trying
to like her story. You know what I mean? Like, there are artists who don't really have a story. They just sing, rap, whatever.
Okay.
But she actually has a story. Stripping.
Yeah. Okay.
Like she has her own little. Like she says,
I don't know. Maybe she might have had a vision board, and she said, "This is what I'm going to do." Because I think I read something today even where it was like she, she obviously was a stripper, but she used her Instagram to help create some sort of buzz that got the attention of the Love and Hip Hop people. The Love and Hip Hop people put her on the show. She took that jump off and realized, I'm going to be the star of this show based on my personality, whether real or fake. That's what she put out there. That personality made her the standout on that show. And from that, she developed money, and she said, okay, now I'm going to start rapping. I remember when I first saw, I only heard about her because people would talk about the stuff that happened with her on the show. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing you know, like, Cardi B said she's going to make a song. And I heard her rap, and I'm like, she's terrible, right? She's not good. However, she put out Bodak Yellow, and because of everything leading, like the development of her, she already had a fan base. And regardless if, to the general public, the song is good or bad, her fans are like, I'm riding with whatever she does. And, I still don't think she's a super dope rapper.
No. But she's come a long way from that mixtape that she first dropped.
Right. So she's come a long way, and they've been able to work. Like if you look at Eazy-E, for example, right? She's almost like an Eazy-E in the sense that Eazy can't rap. He used to rap line for line. They would say the line, stop it. They'd have to punch him in when he did the next line. Punch him in when he could never rap like 6 feet forward. No, he doesn't rap. So he put an album out. So he was arguably
and he's a legend.
But he's arguably a label creation, if you will. Mm. And Cardi B you could argue that she's a label creation, right?
So with that being said, this is exactly brings to my point is that's going to be the norm because of her character and her story.
But that already exists. I mean, you look at guys like Lil Xan. Like, where did he come from? right? Lil Xan is out here. He's signed to Sony. They put a ton of money behind him. He went on this...
I don't even know who that is.
Right. Well, he went on a North American tour. He came here, sold out Mod Club. Probably could have sold out Rebel. Probably could have. I couldn't recite a single song if you paid me money right now. But he's got this fan base. These little, skater kids are into him or whatever. And then there's a Lil Pump is the same way. Tekashi 6ix9ine is kind of the same thing.
There's like this little cult following is going on. You know what I mean? Like the 6ix9ine guy, he's again another card. Like you're gonna see more of these stories of people just
going out of nowhere.
Yeah, because it's gonna be the norm. The anomaly artist is gonna be the norm now. That's what basically I'm saying.
I almost feel like. And this is even wrong because artist development actually does exist because in some cases labels won't even sign an artist until they've already developed themselves. They want the whole thing already done and then you come in and they add a little to it and then boom, it takes off, everybody gets paid. But out of nowhere there's these artists. I mean, even look at the Canadian examples where I was saying that there's not any development, but these guys have these fan bases and they're selling out these venues. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. It's just not on a international, North American or worldwide kind of scale. Mm-hmm. Whether Cardi's going to be like her specifically is going to be the norm, I don't know. But she's winning, man. Like, dude, between the SNL. The Love and Hip Hop, the album, all the things she's doing.
Pregnant, that's crazy too.
I mean,
that's gay.
That happens.
That happens. Just my last question. It's funny that you bring up the platform now. Which Toronto rapper do you think would be a huge success right now if they had what we have right now, the technology.
Back in the day?
Yeah, from the 90s. Which one? Like from the Cardinal and Socrates?
I would say Socrates.
I agree.
I would probably say Socrates.
I agree with you 100% because you know what?
I mean, he argued...
He has the package.
Well, he was the one that was supposed to be. Like, I mean, if you think about everything he did, he was signed to Warner Brothers. He then was signed to Def Jam and had a thing with Redman, right? So if anybody was going to be that guy who was going to take the city, put it on his back, and go out there, you would have suspected it would have been him. And it ended up actually being Cardinal who did it, right? Cardi's the first one who got on Billboard from here with a genuine hit.
When I went to the States, that's what they were asking for.
Right. And so I think if we're talking specifically 90s, though, it would have been Sox.
Yeah.
I believe.
I agree totally. Yeah. Now... The book. I think I sent you a copy.
Yes,
I met Mastermind at Peter Jackson's listening party.
Oh, is that where it was? Okay.
Yeah. And then I got your contact and I sent him a copy of the book and he has a copy, 27 letters. So here's the book that I'm getting people to write. And what I'm basically saying is put yourself in the shoes of a person that's not going to be able to see their loved one for a long time. And you don't even know when that time might be. Mm-hmm. If you had a paragraph to write to just say, give them a message, what would you say?
God, I have no. Off the top of my head, I have no idea.
No, just take your time. Just something simple that.
So again, ask the question again. If I was never going to be able to see a loved one again.
Yeah, like you don't know when you're going to see them again, and you want to impart some type of words of wisdom to them. A paragraph, what would you say? And this is what I dealt with writing those letters to my daughter.
Oh,
we don't have to read it. Just take your time, write it, and thank you for coming out. 27 Letters podcast,
no doubt.
And hopefully the move 2 hours. That's what we're asking for. The spotlight. That's the name of the show we're gonna call it. I'll be the co-host. Straight. Who else but me? I don't know. Yeah, thank you so much, man. Thank you. Sure you don't want to drink?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right.
You take a picture?
Yeah, hold on. So the last thing I'm going to tell you right now, we'll do the J. Roos. Oh, is this recording still?
Yeah.
I can stop if you want me.
No, it's cool. Yeah.
Record it.
So J. Rue came here when Come Clean was big, the biggest record out, right? The biggest record out. Came, he did the radio show with me. After the radio show, he wanted to go out, so we went to go take him to the club, the biggest club that was on that night. I forget.
Spectrum?
No, it wasn't Spectrum. It was somewhere downtown, maybe Studio 69 or something. I don't remember. And we get to the club. We're dressed like this. We're dressed like hip hop, right? J. Rue's dressed like he's in New York. We get to the club. The bouncer's like, "Yeah, you guys can't come in." And I'm like, "But this is J. Rue." And they're like, "Yeah, I don't care." As we were telling them that, they start playing Come Clean in the club. The crowd is going bonkers. Like, you can hear it on the street.
Is anybody outside?
No, just the bouncers are there and us, right? Because everybody's inside. And I said, "This is his record. The record that's on right now this is him. You don't want him inside?" He was like, "No, man, you can't come in." So that's my J. Rue story.
What? Fired. Fired. Like yesterday.
You know, I get it. The back, you have shiny shoes and suit parties and stuff. But if you have the biggest artist song and the artist is at your door, you don't let him in?
That bouncer was
stupid.
It's out of the loop.
Well, in the bouncer's defense, he was just doing his job.
But
right?
no, honestly, I don't think he knew who J. Rue was. Because if he did, he would have opened
absolutely.
Dog.
Or he would have had enough sense to go tell the promoter, "Yo, J. Rue's outside. Should I let him in? He's not dressed right." Like, anyway, that's the J. Rue. All right, pick the time. All right.